Now, it's time for our Monday motivation. And having directly coached, trained, and counseled many people across many industries, he is a published author and motivational speaker. Abiola Champ Salami is about to talk to us about something a lot of people are going through or have gone through this whole year, and we're talking about how to manage a difficult boss. So a while back, I mean, this is over 10 years ago, when I was still in like regular paid employment, 9 to 5, I had to go and buy a book. Somebody recommended a book called The 10 Commandments of Working in a Hostile Environment. And the book was, I thought it was revelatory because there were a lot of things that I didn't know that I should do that I did discover, okay, do this part. Because sometimes it's easy for you to blame somebody else for the problems that you are having. But if you have a genuinely difficult boss, like you've done everything that you can do, but you discover that, okay, you know what, I'm not the problem, this guy is the problem, what do you do?
First thing is empathy. Empathy says seek first to understand before you are understood. The truth is, many times when we say people are difficult, especially bosses, they're not necessarily difficult. It's perhaps because they are making some demands of us that we don't feel comfortable with. And so what you want to do is to seek first to understand what are the issues, what is this boss always complaining about? The way I work? Is it that there are a lot of errors in the job that you deliver? Is it that you're not working in line with the budget? Is it that you are not delivering this work to time? Is it that the other stakeholders, you're not carrying them along? I'm saying that there are many things that could be wrong. But most times we get into that frenzy, that emotional frenzy, and just so far the other person says, I don't like what you've done, or they reject our work. And that happens over a period of time. We brand the person as being difficult.
Well, you have a situation where a lot of people say, look, I've done my best. Look, I've bent over backwards. I've worked extra hours. I've done my best to impress this guy or this lady that's my boss, but it doesn't seem like, so it now feels like it's a personal vendetta. So in that kind of situation, if there's an employee that feels like their boss has something personal against them, so it's now not about the work, but something personal. How do I navigate out of that situation and discover what the real problem is?
Okay. Before I quickly put the responsibility on the boss, I still want to stay on taking personal responsibility. First. Because again, and I'm saying this, I've coached nearly 5,000 executives, and in the course of our conversation, the first statement is my boss is difficult. When we have conversations for some 5-10 minutes, then we realize that the person is actually not fixing something the person is supposed to fix. The truth is not everybody would like you. Your boss may not like you. Your boss doesn't have to like you. If your boss likes you, fine. If it gets the work done, fine. If your boss doesn't like you, you focus on the work. One of the things I found in the workplaces, people are looking for personal relationships in a secular environment. So the workplace it's a secular environment. You don't necessarily need to build strong ties and personal relationships like that. You can do what I learned from a gentleman called John Maxwell. He called it the 101 principle, which is look for one thing you all agree on and make it everything about your relationship in the workplace. So in the unlikely event that this boss is actually now truly difficult and the person is attacking not your work but attacking your person as a personal vendetta, depending on the policy of your organization, some organizations have whistleblowing policy where you can cry out for help that, hey, I'm about to die in this place, because you can't afford to sink that, hey, I'm about to die in this place. If you don't have the whistleblowing policy, you want to look for someone you can have a conversation with.
There are one or two people that I know that have been in a situation, especially even more recently. I haven't heard about a particular situation, very high level situation, where the boss was the GM and the person reporting to the boss, slightly older, was an AGM.
Okay.
So there was a banking structure. So AGM, DGM, then GM. So there's a problem between the AGM and the GM. And in this situation, the AGM then goes to confront the GM that, okay, walks into her office, sits down and says, what problem do you have with me?
Okay.
So that, just to try to get the GM to talk. So do you recommend that people do that? go to the boss. Maybe you've tried different angles, you've tried to do the work, focus on the work, it doesn't seem to be working. It looks like this person is after you or against you or something. Do you confront? Do you go and meet the person one-on-one, even before going to HR and saying, is there a problem? Do you have a problem with my work? Do you have a problem with my person?
So this takes me back to the first point on empathy.
Yeah.
You want to understand that person, that individual. You want to understand the personality.
Yeah.
Because there are people you walk up to and you say, do you have a problem with me? And with a bright smile on their face will say, no, no problem. We're working together.
Yeah.
It is all about the job. Just do a great job and we'll be fine. But it's not true.
Right.
So if you know that the person conceals the reality, you don't want to confront the person. Then confrontation, by the way, doesn't have to do with anything violent, doesn't have to do with anything aggressive. It could just be assertive. But first, you want to understand that individual. You need to be sure that this person is not someone that will conceal his real thoughts, that the person is someone that's probably been waiting for you to come and ask.
So you need to be sure before you approach.
Exactly. I mean, because if you do it without really understanding the person will tell you, no, there's no problem, we're good. And then when you leave, the person will just increase the intensity of whatever difficulty that the person is given.
Wow, I feel like this conversation is not over. But we have to find a way to continue, because I know that there's a lot of people that are watching now that are feeling that, okay, they're touching on this subject, but how about my case? You know, and there's a number of questions I still want to ask, but we'll probably come back to that later. But you can find him if you have questions for him at Abiola.
At Abiola Champ on Twitter, on Instagram at Abiola_Champ.
Yeah,
and
so
hey,
send him your questions.
Send a question and you get your answers.